How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the top 10 cheap and fast diesel cars that you can buy for less than £10,000. I previously did a video on the top 5 cheap and fast diesel cars for under £6,000, and I realised during that video that I don't do enough on diesel cars in any of my videos. And having recently driven some very fast diesel cars, I thought it would be well worth getting into some and telling you guys about them. It's a top 10 rather than a top 5 in this video, so as always slightly less detail in this case, but a lot more variety, and as we know, variety is the spice of life. They're ordered from least to most torque to reduce bias on my part, and where there's a tie, I've basically gone for any of their other stats to get the tiebreaker. Remember that I'm in the UK, so prices in other countries may differ, and don't forget, whenever you're buying any second-hand car, maintenance, repairs, insurance, all that great stuff, super important to remember, so yeah, don't forget that. As always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff, and without further ado, let's get into the video. Starting us off at number 10, we have the Alfa Romeo GIULIETTA with the 2-litre turbocharged inline-4, putting out 172 brake horsepower, 350 Nm of torque, and managing 0 to 60 in 7.6 seconds. Other than the fact that it's an Alfa Romeo and is therefore an excellent car for car guys, the GIULIETTA is made cool by the fact that the Fiat Compact's platform on which it sits is a re-engineered C platform, which was used by none other than the Lancia Delta. Oh wait, not that Lancia Delta. This Lancia Delta. I generally try to keep my opinion out of these videos, but as I'm a big fan of Alfa Romeos, I would just point out that I think the Brera was a much nicer or more alpha looking car, but feel free to ignore that. The QV line diesel is the best in terms of specs. Now it is a far throw from the TCR model using the TCR race series. Considering how new the car is, it's not bad value for money, starting for as little as £4,500, and for £10,000 you can expect around 40,000 miles on the clock. Despite the stereotypes around Alfas being unreliable, the phrase bomb-proof was used on numerous forums to describe this engine, with most owners being very happy with the reliability. One point I'd mention is the EGR cooler cracking, which isn't entirely uncommon and can be quite a big job to complete, but other than that it looks okay to me. It's even in the green on the car reliability index. What a sick Alfa. I always try to shoehorn an Alfa into these videos, and the GIULIETTA certainly offers a decent diesel for the money, especially when it will get you 67 miles per gallon apparently. In ninth, we have the Mark II Audi TT S-Line with a 2-litre turbocharged inline-4 putting out 167 brake horsepower, 350 Nm of torque, and managing 0 to 60 in 7.4 seconds thanks to its all-wheel drive layout. These TDIs are blessed with a stunning S-Line body kit, which is most noticeable from the front, with a larger grille that looks more akin to the S and RS models. Little would the average person know that these will get 53 miles per gallon when it looks so beefy and sporty. The interior also gets an upgraded and sporty feel too, with Alcantara and leather bolstered seats and a flat bottom sports steering wheel. A feature not many know about the second gen TT is the fact that it was made with aluminium on the front and steel on the rear in an attempt to achieve weight balance front and rear for better handling, as of course the steel at the back counterbalances the engine being in the front. You can pick up one of these for as little as £4,500 if you're happy with a high mileage example without the cool S-Line body kit, but £10,000 will get you a 2013 example with around 60,000 miles on the clock. Reliability is a real positive of this car too, as I couldn't find any horrendous common issues relating to the engine. Owners on forums mentioned the seat bolts as being particularly flimsy though, so don't expect the seats to be in tip-top condition, and the window regulators also are known to fail, but nothing critical. One of my personal favourite looking cars on this list, and that all-wheel drive layout makes it a real contender in difficult conditions too. Next up, we have the F56 Mini Hatch Cooper SD, which hosts a 2-litre turbocharged inline-4 engine putting out 167 brake horsepower, 360 Nm of torque, and managing 0 to 60 in 7.2 seconds. The F56 continued the trend in making minis bigger in literally every dimension, 98mm longer, 44mm wider, and 7mm taller than the previous model, as well as a longer wheelbase and wider track width. If you want to see why cars are getting bigger, check this video out on the iCard. The car is also rounder than the outgoing model to increase aero efficiency as well as to be safer when hitting pedestrians. Despite this, the car has actually been criticised quite heavily for how it looks. The SD is, of course, supposedly the diesel equivalent of the Cooper S, so not on the same level as the JCW etc, but still sporting the average Mini hatch. The Mini is one of the most modern cars on this list for the money, and you can get a high mileage 2014 example for around £6,500. 10 grand will get you a 2015 model with around 30,000 miles, which is not bad. You'll also be saving money on diesel too, as the car is quoted at 68 miles per gallon, higher than any other car on this list. The engine in this Mini has thus far proven to be quite reliable, with higher mileage as not being a major issue. I couldn't find much on forums though, so this is trusting motoring journalists who might not have the same long-term experience of owning the cars. Either way though, a fair car's thrown into the mix, and particularly good for younger drivers, as I know quite a few people who own them with decent insurance. Another decent one for younger drivers in 7th is the most recent generation of the Seat Leon FR, with the 2-litre inline-4 turbocharged engine putting out 181 brake horsepower, 380 Nm of torque and doing 0 to 60 in 7.3 seconds. Putting it bluntly, this is basically a less premium version of the Golf GTD, as I will explain shortly. It does have slightly sportier interior, quite sharp lines as part of the design, and multiple driving settings for a particularly sporty feel to the car. It also comes as an estate, which is certainly something I'd be interested in, and I actually think it looks a little bit more aggressive as a wagon, although again not as aggressive as the TCR race car which battles the Giulietta I mentioned previously. Depreciation has hit the FR quite madly, as a high mileage 2015 plate will set you back just £6,000, while £10,000 will get you a 2016 plate with around 30 to 40,000 miles on the clock. Not bad for a car that's only 4 years old at this point. As the car is quite new, reliability issues aren't very well documented. What I would say though is that the 2.0 TDI has had issues in the past, as has the DSG gearbox, and though not massively common, they do exist, so make sure you maintain the car well and watch the oil levels, as these VAG cars love to drink. With that in mind, still a very decent and modern diesel for the money, so well worth a place on this list. In 6th we have almost exactly the same car, with exactly the same MQB platform and 2-litre turbo diesel inline-4 engine as the Seat. It's the Mark 7 VW Golf GTD, which has the same specs as the FR, but apparently can do 1 mile per hour more, so it jumps ahead of it in this video. If you're a car person, you'll likely know of the famous GTI by now, and the GTD is a diesel answer to this, if maybe a little bit wetter. Though less sporty than the FR, it does have a more premium interior with less plastic, so it feels a bit more real. These Golfs are hugely popular as they're such strong all-rounders. Loads of space, comfortable to drive, tremendously practical, economical at 67 miles per gallon, and safe in the event of a crash. They're basically the epitome of German efficiency and design. Considering it is essentially a more premium FR, the Golf has held its value much better, likely due to the respect for the Golf nameplate in the motoring world. You could get a previous gen GTD with similar specs for as little as £4,500, but for the Mark 7 you look at around 85,000 miles, which is slightly higher than many of the other cars on this list. With reliability, just re-listen to what I just said about the FR and you'll know exactly what to expect with the GTD's engine. I think it's a very decent car for the money, if only because it has a really nice simple interior, which would certainly make me feel as an owner very happy to step into it every day. On to the top 5 now, and in 5th we have the Mercedes-Benz SLK 250 AMG Sport, which hosts a 2.1 litre 2-stage turbocharged inline-4 putting out 201 brake horsepower, 500 Nm of torque and managing 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds, though it did feature in my hairdresser's car video way back when. It was designed to look like a baby SLS AMG on the front and to have headlamps similar to those on the old 190 SL Roadster, one of my favourite cars of all time. The reason why I named it a hairdresser's car is because though it looks sporty, much of its design is focused on giving occupants a chilled and pleasant experience. Panoramic hardtop convertible roof, plush leather seats, and all the cool signs of a luxury car exist in the SLK, and the AMG Sport Pack doesn't do much to rectify this, as it doesn't really sound or drive like a proper sports car, and I've driven one so I can definitely confirm this. £7,500 will get you a high mileage example from 2012, but £10,000 will get you a 2013 SLK with around 50,000 miles on the clock, which is pretty decent for a 7-year-old Merc. On reliability, I couldn't find any major issues with the engines, and owners are generally positive about the build quality. There were a few horror stories about long-term undiagnosable rattles and the paint peeling from the sun, which doesn't sound too good, but these are few and far between. Overall, a cool car for the money, but I would beg the question of whether it's a bit of a sheep in wolf's clothing. In 4th we have the Audi A4 TDI Quattro Black Edition with the 3-litre turbocharged V6 putting out 241 brake horsepower, 580 Nm of torque and managing 0 to 60 in 5.7 seconds. When the facelift came for this 4th generation A4 in 2011, it brought with it the option of a Black Edition, which is a step above from the more familiar S-Line. It's basically just the top of the range trim line before moving on to the actual S4, so it maintains the S-Line body kit, large alloys, lowered suspension and leather sports seats, but gets extra stuff like the black trim throughout the interior and exterior, as well as a Bang & Olufsen speaker system as standard and the 3-spoke flat bottom steering wheel. Despite Black Editions being top of the line, as it's the previous generation, you'll still get your hands on one for as little as £7,500, and £10,000 will get you one with around 80,000 miles on the clock. In terms of reliability, it's not awful, but it is expensive to fix if it goes wrong. At around 100,000 miles, the engine is known for having issues with the timing chain tensioner, so be wary of this. It's also said that the engine really won't reach 200,000 miles without a complete overhaul, so worth noting on high mileage models. Overall, one of the best looking cars on this list, and I'd say it's well worth its position, but let's get into the top 3. In third, we have probably my favourite car on this list, the E90 series BMW 335D, which hosts a 3-litre twin-turbocharged inline-6 engine putting out 281 brake horsepower, 580 Nm of torque, and doing 0 to 60 in 5.7 seconds. I've said it in many previous videos, but the E90 stands for Saloon, E91 for Estate, and E92 for Coupe. There's also an E93 which is the convertible, and also my personal favourite in terms of looks, but the 335D doesn't come with this option unfortunately. If you want the convertible, you have to go for the 330D instead, though it kind of takes away from the fun of having theoretically the best of the best. Since the M3 is petrol powered, the 335D is as good as you can possibly get for a diesel. As expected, getting an M Sport basically means the car gets a few extra sporty bits, and to be fair makes the car look a lot sharper and more aggressive. £5,500 is enough to get you into a high mileage example of one of these beauts, but £10,000 will get you one with 70,000 miles on the clock. Considering the car was £35,000 when new, that's a pretty decent deal. However, the reliability does let this car down. I've seen numerous owners complaining of issues with the EGR, EGR cooler, DPF, SCR, CBU, and probably a bunch of other acronyms too. Apparently, Consumer Reports named the 2011 335D a used car to avoid, which is not ideal. It's a shame about the reliability figures, as I know the 335i also has its own set of issues. Might be worth giving it a miss if you don't want the hassle, but either way, it's still a bit of a beast. Just missing out on the top spot, we have the Mark IV Jaguar XJ, which hosts a 3-litre twin-turbocharged V6 engine, which was co-developed by Ford and Peugeot Citroën, putting out 271 brake horsepower, 600 Nm of torque, and doing 0 to 60 in 6.2 seconds. The car's design team was led by Ian Callum, who has most notably led designs on cars like the Ford RS200, Escort Cosworth, Nissan R390, and multiple Aston Martins, as well as a Jaguar F-Type, so he's certainly the kind of guy you want to make your car look pretty. The XJ is less pretty and more powerful. It looks beefy and executive, and the interior is probably the nicest place to be when compared with other cars on this list. Having been driven around in one, I'd put it on a level with the S-Class in terms of executive prowess. This absolute waft wagon does come at a premium though, as at £10,000 you'll still be looking at around 100,000 miles. For even more mileage you can get one for around £8,000. In terms of reliability, I haven't seen too many small problems, but I have seen a few catastrophic ones, like the main bearing failing, which would mean you'd need to replace the whole engine and new turbos if the metal gets sucked through. One poor owner I found was told it could be fixed for £20,000. You could buy 2.5 high mileage XJs for that. Anyway, all in all a beautiful car, just don't expect maintenance costs to be cheap. Taking the top spot in this video is a W204 Mercedes-Benz C350 AMG Sport Plus, which hosts a 3-litre turbocharged V6 engine putting out 261 brake horsepower, 620 Nm of torque, and does 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds. Not as quick as the A4 or 335D mentioned previously, but that torque figure is still nuts. Now, I actually drove one of these quite a while ago, so I thought I'd give you a bit of a personal review rather than giving you additional information here. It's actually incredibly quick, and the torque seems to keep on giving through the range. You can feel the push into your seats even when doing decent speeds already and wanting to speed up. It handles okay, I wouldn't say it's the best, but it is alright. Comfort, as you'd expect, is good, particularly when just cruising around, and it's the type of car that makes normal road speeds feel very sedate, so be careful that you don't end up doing some mad speeds. A high mileage example will set you back at least £7,500, and for £10,000 you're still looking at around 90k on the clock, so quite high relative to the other cars on this list. In terms of any common problems, I couldn't find anything significant, though a couple of owners mentioned belt tensioner bearings wearing out quickly and timing chains knocking on startup. A nice car, but you're unlikely to get a hold of the more sporty coupe for this kind of money, so you'll likely be settling for the 4-door if that works for you. Still, mad amounts of torque and well deserves its top spot on this list. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you got any feedback for me, let me know in the comments down below. Massive thank you to the patrons as always. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.